This is Spiritual Biz Chat with Kimberly Maska. Inspiration for spiritual entrepreneurs. Join our spiritual family at spiritualbizmagazine.com.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Spiritual Biz Chat. I'm Kimberly Maska, your host, and we are very blessed today to have an incredible soul with us. He is a personal friend and just really one of the great inspirational thinkers of today and spiritual leaders. And I'm really excited to have him as on our August cover of Spiritual Biz Magazine as well. And I would like to welcome the Reverend Ed Bacon. How are you, Ed?
Hey, Kimberly, I'm doing very well. Better now that I'm talking with you, frankly.
Fantastic. Now, you just retired from 21 years at All Saints. So can I still call you Reverend Ed Bacon, or does that change?
Nope, that has not changed. Still Reverend Ed Bacon.
Okay. That's good to know. So, you've been really an amazing, I call it forefront leader in the thought of spirituality and just really about how we see life. And you've really done some amazing work. So for my audience who might not be familiar with you, share with us a little bit about your story and your philosophy.
Okay. Well, there are two or three really important moments in my childhood and my young adulthood that made me who I am. Is it okay to start there?
Absolutely.
So when I was 5 or 6, I was playing alone in a grove of pine trees one day, and all of a sudden, I felt this warmth and this light. And I received a message that I was the most special, beloved creature that had ever been made. And in the same instant, I got the message that that was the case for everybody else. It was absolutely overwhelming. I knew I was in the middle of truth. I was in the middle of God. I was in the middle of love. I was in the middle of life, eternal life. So that has been the bell of truth in my life. And whenever I've heard that bell ring, I have known I was in gear. And whenever I have heard a philosophy, a sermon, read a book, heard a song, heard anyone say anything where not everyone was seen as a beloved creature of God, I knew it was false. So that's been my North Star all my life. So that's my theology in a nutshell, that story of my boyhood. Now, in terms of my finding my place, my role, which continues after retirement, I was raised in fundamentalist Christianity. And I didn't like that, and yet there was something in it that called to me. And I kept getting messages that I was a minister, but I said there was no way in the world I could be a minister in fundamentalism. So I went to law school. And while I was in law school, I began reading a guy by the name of Thomas Merton, who was, I think, the greatest spiritual guide in Christianity in the 20th century. And his whole thing was, it's really important for you to be your true self, not your false self. And when you are your true self, you are full of love and light and energy. And you are connected with everybody and everything else. Wow. I thought, if this is a minister, and he was a monk, if this is a minister, I can be that kind of minister. So I walked out of I took a break in the middle of a final exam in law school, and I heard this voice, an audible voice, which I think was the voice of God or the voice of love. I call God love. And that voice asked me, "Are you an attorney?" And my answer was no. And the voice said, "If you're not an attorney, do you need a law degree?" And I said, "No." And then the voice said, "If you don't need a law degree, do you need to finish this exam?" And I said, "No." And I kept on walking.
That's fantastic.
It was so real, so gentle, so true, so calm, so strong that I knew it was the voice of love, the voice of God. And that's been the voice I've tried to follow all my life. So, to answer your question about my life and the arc of my life, the trajectory of my life has always been about promoting this love that is universal for us and for everybody else. And for me to follow my true self and to try to empower other people to follow their true selves. That's my life.
And so that's such a beautiful moment. And I think it's like this huge aha, right? That's amazing. And I think what's so interesting, because I work with people who are trying to find their path and they're trying to understand, I'm in corporate, or here's the life I'm supposed to be living, and how do I follow that path? And I love how you kept walking out of the exam. That's incredible.
Well, I've never thought about that being a path, but it really has. I kept walking that path. And it's never failed me, Kimberly. It has never failed me. That path, that voice helped me understand that I was to be an Episcopal priest and that I was to be an institutional priest. And then it helped me understand that it was time to retire and begin a writing life and traveling presentation life. It's the voice it's that path that you keep referring to that led me to a call from Oprah Winfrey's people to come and be interviewed by her and to have an amazing interview with her, which led to another interview, which led to another interview, which led to working with her. So that path that I've tried to articulate has never failed.
Amazing. And we could all have that assurance, right? To be able to say, that is the path. And I know that's where I feel I am now. It's like, this is the path. There's no other option. It's like, come hell or high water, I'm doing this one way or another. And I think that's such a big thing for people, because they get nervous, but you got to just listen to the voice.
Well, you've just raised another theme of my life and what I am about. And that is the interplay of the voices of love and fear. Because you do get nervous, you do get anxious, you do get fearful. And whenever that happens, you know something even greater is inviting you to what I call jump off the high dive. It's that exhilarating nervousness that too many people just kind of back away from. And that's what I want to do, is give people the courage, the power, the energy to step forward and to do their thing, to love how they are wired, and to express that uniqueness, because the world needs that uniqueness. The world doesn't need anybody else.
Absolutely. That unique you is so important.
Crucial.
Yeah. So now you have had this great success that you weren't probably planning on. You thought, okay, my path is to be a priest and to teach. And then Oprah came knocking on your door, and you've gone down that path. And I know you have projects and things coming up with her. So how have you balanced that success with keeping in alignment with your higher self? Because I get a lot of feedback from people as I'm talking about spiritual entrepreneurs, that you can do what you love and still have abundance and have it be okay that you're doing that. So how do you balance that as being like really one of the greatest thought leaders on all of this? How do you balance?
Well, two words come into my mind immediately. One is contemplation, and the other is community. Two very important C words, contemplation and community. Now, everybody has to express their uniqueness, and everybody has to find their unique way to access the energy and the power available to us in contemplation and in community. For me, contemplation is comprised of an hour of meditation every morning, mindfulness. And then whenever I get scared or get tired or get overwhelmed, is to stop during the day and to take 5 minutes of conscious breathing, of mindfulness, of meditation. People call it prayer, people call it meditation, people call it contemplation. I don't care what you call it. I don't care how you practice it. It's just absolutely essential that you do it. The other thing is community, the other C. And for me, primarily, it's my wife. It's our children. Before we moved from Pasadena and Los Angeles, it was also my faith community there, All Saints Episcopal Church. But I think that all of us have to be in community so that we can understand the impact of what we do, so that we can understand how we come across. Because you have to know the impact. I mean, I am really big on Facebook and Twitter, and I pay attention to what kind of response I get to the posts and the tweets that I file there, because that tells me whether or not what I've posted is life-giving to other people or is just, self-absorption on my part. So to answer your question, how do you keep your path? How do you keep yourself true? Contemplation and community, or meditation and friendship, or collegiality and prayer, whatever it is. But I think you have to have those two kind of dancing throughout your life all the time.
Beautifully said. And I really never gave thought to the community part. I have to admit, that's like a nice little aha for me, because yes, meditation every morning, it's part of the path, but the community, you're right. And knowing that they're there and supporting you and keeping you grounded too, I think a lot.
Yes, both supporting you and keeping you grounded, and also the thing, critiquing you. Critiquing as opposed to condemning is really important. And it teaches you how to take criticism and not take it personally, to learn from it, to get feedback. And that's really important. My wife and I have spent more time with one another in these last 6 weeks than ever before, frankly, because we're putting this house together, this new home together. And gosh, we're having to make a million decisions a day, it seems like. And I have learned so much from her about hearing how I come across, because I can come across pretty authoritarianly. I can come across kind of like a bulldozer, and so she's not afraid to tell me about that, and that's helpful.
I love how we can still learn, right? Every day's a lesson when we see ourselves in a new light.
One of the most important things I've learned is that you can write your story, you can tell your life story in one of three ways. As a victim, as a hero, or as a learner. Every time I start to see my life as a victim or as a hero, I screw up somehow. But if I can get back to being a constant learner, and here's where Buddhism comes in, the beginner's mind is a really important mind to have. It's a learner's mind where every day can be a new experience. I mean, I know I'm already learning things from you, from this encounter. And to the degree that you and I stay in a learning mode, this is going to continue to be a great interview.
I love it. Learning mode. That's like something we should have, like a yellow sticky. Every morning I'm in learning mode, and that gets us through the day.
Well, one of my mentors was a rabbi who taught me so much about leadership and about being a priest. And he said that his best work was when he stayed in the research mode. And it was his way of saying, kind of one step removed from being in the middle and trying to win or trying to be willful or whatever, but to learn in every moment. Wow, that is a mentality, I think, that's life-giving.
That's incredible. We definitely need to write that one down and remember.
And let it be constant and never ending.
Yeah, great. So I have the big question that I touch upon that is like my little soapbox thing. And this is about being spiritual and having financial abundance in your life. and the view of money, because there's so many negative views where people like to say, well, it's not about the money. I don't want it to be about the money. But I have a different view, but I want to hear your philosophy on it.
Well, there are a number of things that have to play into this. I mean, money is energy, right? And what you want is to keep the flow of energy going throughout your life, which does mean financial prosperity, security, enrichment. Now, for me, I think that what is really important to keep that flow going is to make sure that you're giving as much as you're receiving. My favorite, I have a book called 8 Habits of Love, and in it I describe generosity as one of the 8 habits of love. And these are habits that you can employ when you feel yourself overcome by fear, and you want to get out of the force field of fear and get back into the force field of love, which is where abundance is. Abundance is not in a scarcity mentality. Abundance for financial success is in that force field of love. So if you see yourself as giving as much as you're receiving, rather than receiving and then holding on to that, then you're going to have a life of abundance. It is so true in every person's life. Now, my favorite geographical place in the entire planet is in the Holy Land, where there is the Sea of Galilee, the River Jordan, and the Dead Sea. And the River Jordan flows into the Sea of Galilee, and then it flows out of the Sea of Galilee. And the Sea of Galilee is full of life. It's teeming with fish. People have fishing businesses there. They're water skiing there. Families are picnicking on the banks. Folks have restaurants on the banks of the Sea of Galilee serving fish that have been caught right there that day in the Sea of Galilee. Sea of Galilee is full of life. It is because the River Jordan flows into it and the River Jordan flows out of it. 90 miles south of the Sea of Galilee is the Dead Sea. And the reason it's dead is it receives the River Jordan, but it doesn't give out anything. That is a beautiful example of a mentality, of an orientation to life. I know, you know, everybody who's watching us knows Sea of Galilee people and Dead Sea people. And it has to do with whether or not they are generously letting flow through them what is flowing into them. And I think that's the secret to abundance.
I love that analogy. I've never heard that, and that's gorgeous, because that's kind of what I try to convey, is that you have to give and receive. It has to be in balance, but that, I've never heard that. That's absolutely gorgeous. We do not want to be the Dead Sea.
I mean, who wants to be walking around dead before they are dead, you know? And that means not only in terms of friendships and in terms of ideas and in terms of innovation and creativity, it also means about money and about financial stability.
And my thing too is that if you have more, there's more to give. So it drives me crazy when people say, like, I don't need that much. And I'm like, well, yeah, you do.
Take it in. Take it all in and see how much good you can do with it. You know? There's this thing about, you know, if I get $1, if I give a dime of that dollar away, the 90 cents that's left will go farther than the dollar would have gone. It's a spiritual law. Generosity is a spiritual law. So if you have all this money coming in and you make sure that you're giving it out to other people, that's just wonderful. Do more good, do more good, do more good. Let more money come in.
You know, if I say we can always feed more families, build more schools and everything else with the more abundance we have.
Life is about experimentation, making mistakes, adjusting, making mid-course corrections, and then keep going forward. So if you're fearful and anxious, then I think you're not going to have as an abundant life as if as if you're just absolutely full of love risk. It's almost as if love risk is one word, because when you have this secure base of love, you are so free to take risks and to know that you can take the exit ramp and turn back around. You can discover that you're going in the wrong direction, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. So I think that's really important. Everybody I know who has a lot of resources are experimenters. And they don't give up. They're persistent and they don't get down. I mean, maybe momentarily, but it's not an end of the world thing.
I love it. I mean, we're so on the same page, but I love that. What do you call it? Love risk?
Yeah, risk. Love risk. I mean, if you are grounded in love, then you can take more risks.
That's amazing. I think that's a huge takeaway and for everyone because that fear is what keeps us from living our purpose.
Totally. It'll lead you to your false self every time. Fear will.
Fantastic. So now you're officially retired. You're moving, getting settled into the new home and area and everything. But it sounds like you have some amazing plans. So what are you going to be doing? How can we find you? What are we going to see? What are your projects? What are we looking at?
My website is under reconstruction. People can go there and still get some information. People can still go to the All Saints YouTube channel, All Saints Episcopal Church in Pasadena, and all of my sermons are still live there. Now, for the future, I have 3 books in mind. I have several speaking engagements already arranged. I'll be posting those on my public Facebook page and my Twitter feed. Rev Ed Bacon is my Twitter account. Rev Ed Bacon is also my public Facebook account. And I think I've arranged my personal Facebook account so anybody can read it. It's just that it's so crazy. Facebook says you can only have 5,000 friends. That's that's not true. You can have 1 million friends. But I'm tapped out on the friends right now and the personal, on my personal. So follow those. I'll be posting where I'm going to be speaking, which of those people can come to, the public can come to. I'll be writing. I'm going to be writing essays and blogs, and all of that will be all over the place in terms of social media.
Fantastic. I cannot wait to see what you're doing. And thank you so much for your energy and your presence here and your knowledge that you shared with us, because I think my audience is going to love it. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for inviting me, and it was great to be with you. Take care, my friend.
You've been listening to Spiritual Biz Chat with Kimberly Maska. Inspiration for spiritual entrepreneurs. Hear our latest interviews and join our spiritual family at spiritualbizmagazine.com.